Yo, what's going on, homies? It's your boy Stumped back for the OPTC video, and in today's video, we're taking a look at the new anniversary exclusive legend, that is, Luffy and Lucci. We're going to take them into some hard content, see how they rock, see how they roll in the traditional OPTC format, as this particular character is very, very interesting in what they're bringing to the table as a captain, with their captain shift as a sailor, final tap, all that fun stuff. So, as of last November, when we had the 10.5 anniversary, the captain shift mechanic was implemented into the game, and honestly, we thought it was probably going to replace stuff like super switches, but unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, because now we have both, it doesn't. And this is another character that has captain shift alongside Oden Kinemon Denjiro, Roger Gaban, and then the Big Mom Katakuri and Kaido and King. And this particular captain shift is very similar to Roger Gaban's, where you do need them to be in the right-hand column, and they can do some pretty fun stuff when you partner them up with Zoro and Kaku. We're bringing Zoro and Kaku in the showcase as well, because like these two characters are kind of like, they're kind of tied hand in hand in how they operate and how they work. They're both fantastic units, and they work excellently alongside each other. And they bring a lot of buffs to shooters, which is a really nice surprise, because you think Luffy and you're always thinking free spirit. Now, don't get me wrong, like, we're still getting free spirit buffs. Luffy is a free spirit character, Zoro is a free spirit character, and they are still buffing free spirit in their captain ability. They buff fighters, free spirits, shooters, and slasher characters, and then they do some fun stuff if your character is a dex free spirit or a dex slasher, or if your character is a quick shooter or a quick fighter. So most of the time, you're probably going to see this character pop up on shooter-based teams or fighter-based teams, but as you guys are seeing in today's video, like, we're using a lot of free spirit characters. Free spirit and slashers are still like the kings when it comes to the most usability and the most fun characters that you can bring to clear content. And we're taking on Doofy 2 and Revolution Army 2, as I mentioned in the Zoro, or as I do mention, because this video is probably coming out first, mentioned in the Zoro and Kaku showcase. I find that these are just really, really good showcase stages, because you get a lot of different aspects if you are no-stalling the content, where you can showcase stuff like power, utility, usability, array of subs, what their team looks like, and how they impact the team. And look, I'm not gonna lie, I got a little bit lazy, and the teams are very similar for the showcase videos, but at the end of the day, we're talking about two separate units. So Lucci and Luffy, as a captain, as I mentioned, they buff the 4 classes. They make dex and quick orbs matching, and then if you hit a perfect with a character that has barrier penetration, they actually remove resilience and some other defensive effect, and I'm just completely blanking right now. I'm completely blanking on what ability what it actually is. I know it's resilient. It's resilience and some other defensive based ability. I want to say maybe defense up, but I don't think it is defense up. It's definitely something else, but the ability to remove resilience is just a very, very strange one in my opinion. And with a lot of characters nowadays not having guaranteed barrier pen, which luckily these characters do. If you are barrier pen level 5, they just completely bypass barriers, which is perfect. It's exactly what they needed. But having the ability to remove resilience with a barrier pen unit it's a little bit weird, because if you have like a barrier, an actual barrier in front of the character, and then you try and leave the resilience and then use end of turn damage, it doesn't actually work. So this ability to bypass barriers and then remove resilience, it's a little bit wonky. It's a little bit weird, but all in all, they do have it in their kit. It might show some sort of value down the line somewhere, but that's basically the crux of their big utility gimmick. They also are immune to special reverse, if I remember correctly. They have a special reverse mechanic, so if you are inflicted with any stages of special reverse, you will just bypass that by 10 turns. I believe. So, very interesting stuff. Now, if you are Luffy as the captain and you switch into Lucci, you have the option to captain shift out to the middle right-hand spot, and then vice versa. If you put Luffy and Lucci as a sub in the middle right-hand slot and swap from Lucci to Luffy, you have the ability to use the captain swap. Now, the captain swap ability gives you 3 turns of a critical rate increase of 30% for 3 turns. Now, this is really, really good when you partner it up with Lucci. No, I'm going to do this so much. Zoro and Kaku. Because Zoro and Kaku have that ability where if you hit a critical hit, you bypass damage reduction and threshold, which is another really good way of bypassing other defensive-based abilities. So you can do some fun stuff there. Obviously, captain shifting these characters in. Roger Gaban's another one where they captain shift in, and they can remove defensive effects like damage reduction and I can't remember what else they remove. Maybe it's damage reduction and defense up. But they're, like I said, they're another character that you can kind of shift here and there and then give the crit buff and do some fun stuff with. So having options for these types of captain shifts and utility for defensive effects is actually really, really nice. So on top of that, their switchability does obviously have a switchability buff as well. They get a 500 base attack buff Rainbow, for full Rainbow 500 base attack buff that can be overridden, and they also remove 7 turns of Special Bind on themselves. Now, this is great because as a special, they remove Special Bind, but it's just a little bit weird that it's 7 turns. I just wish they completely remove Special Bind on themselves instead of just having a fixed number. Like, what happens when we get inflicted with 10 turns Special Bind? You want to use the switch ability of this particular character, you can't do that, then you're sort of back to using Anniversary or New Year's Sabo, which most people missed out on or skipped because he was probably the least luxurious of the New Year's batch, but like again showing his value. But it's nice to see Luffy, but not just sort of funneled into free spirits. It's nice to see a Luffy that's sort of built up around shooter teams, which is something that we probably would have never really seen from Luffy, but still having that fighter tag there as Luffy's stereotypically the fighter or a free spirit. So really, really nice stuff with his captain. He's definitely going to see some play as captain in the next couple of months, but look, he's a Luffy, so he's probably going to get power crept, but it is nice to see that we have a Luffy with a captain shift mechanic on a team that most Luffys won't probably turn up on. So it just gives you more options when it comes to team building in that regard. If you do want to use him as a sub, use the captain shift mechanic to maybe bypass some of that resilience here and there, and do some fun stuff there as well. So that was Doofy 2, as you guys can see, tore through it. You guys will probably see a very similar team when the Zorokaku video comes out for their showcase, so make sure you hit the bell notification so you don't miss out on that. Alright, we're going to head over to Revolutionary Army 2 now, and this one is stereotypically just like a little bit harder when it comes to no-stalling the content anyway. And remember, like, this is old content, so it's not exactly showing like, oh my god, look, you beat Revolutionary Army 2. It's more just a really good showcase stage, in my opinion, when it comes to no-stalling, because it does sort of tick those boxes of showing how powerful the character is, how easy it is to clear stages, what options you guys have in terms of supports, and obviously with power creep, things are getting easier and easier and easier, and we will eventually need to move on to another stage just to showcase these characters a little bit better. If you guys have any ideas, let me know in the comment section below as well. But I actually stuff up and I actually don't no-stall this. Ideally, I should have switched with Sora and Kaku on like the first turn or the second turn. One of the two. Doesn't really matter where. But I do stuff up and I miss one of my swaps, so I don't have their super swap ready. But nevertheless, like, look, I'm not going to keep rerunning this. I've had to record so many videos. Well, not had to. Like, I've had the option to record so many videos today that I just can't be bothered sort of going back and doing an entire run just because I forgot to switch on the first or second stage, man. Like, it is what it is. Luffy and Luchi have obviously the barrier pen mechanic, which is great. It's a fantastic ability. Probably the strongest ability in the game when it is at level 5 and you just completely bypass barriers. So having this ability is awesome because you just stops, or just it allows you to just beat content just so much smoothly. And any character that has barrier pen is just already doing wonderful things when it comes to those really pesky barriers. We are seeing them a lot more lately, and we're seeing them for like 3, 4 turns, 5 turns, where you can't actually remove them. You actually have to satisfy the conditions of the barrier. So having just a character that can just bypass this is so good. So it works out great. But Luffy and Luchi, their special is actually pretty strong. They remove 7 turns of special bind, as I mentioned, with their switch working in tandem with that, removing 7 turns on themselves. Just works really, really nicely when you get slapped with like special bind and maybe you get hit with fear or something like that, or don't have the ability to swap, or if you're the captain, this is where it works really, really nicely, because you can switch, remove that special bind, and then use their special to remove more of it. Their special is very interesting because they are a double stacking conditional boost. One of the only few characters in the game, now getting obviously more and more as time goes on. We have obviously Verse Shanks, we have the original Robin, we have Big Mom for Driven and Powerhouse teams, we have Stussy, we have Ace, and now we have this particular Luffy and Luchi. Luffy and Luchi have the ability to just straight up double stack conditional buffs. There's no real like gimmick with Luffy and Luchi. Maybe it's if your captain needs to be like a Dex quick. I can't exactly remember fully off the top of my head, but from what I could see, it's pretty much just stock standard of just use the special, you get double stacking conditional. The downside to the character is they don't really give a conditional buff. They do it in their EX. The EX ability gives you a conditional buff against paralysis and something else. Ignite, I think. I can't really remember. We'll see at the end of this video, but basically it does give you a conditional buff with their EX ability, but they don't actually give the condition themselves, which is a little bit of a downside. What else they do what else they do is they apply the set target ability, and this allows you to do 1.75 times more damage with your, I believe it's your fighters and your shooter characters, if I remember full correctly. It was actually it just popped up earlier before when I wasn't paying attention. So you guys will be able to sort of see that and sort of see what the logos are with that set target. And this allows you to just do a free 1.75 times damage. There's no immunity to set target. There's no like character that can stop this. The fact that it's a 1.75 buff does make me scratch my head a little bit. Literally a year ago we got cross guild, and that was a 2 times buff to Driven and Slashes. And then since then, we've had like Treasure Map Usopp, who's a 2 times to free spirit and shooters. And then we've had Shiryu, who's also a little bit lower at a 1.75. So it's a bit weird that they made this character at 1.75, even if it is, especially if it is for shooters and fighters. They could have easily just made it 2 times because those 2 classes definitely need the help. So I just don't, like I said, I just don't understand why they just didn't give the help there. So yeah, it's a bit of an odd one to me. So, but nonetheless, like the set target ability, it's still an incredibly strong and powerful ability. Mainly for the fact that it just doesn't get stopped by anything. There's no full immunity. It's like, oh, well, I can't apply increased damage taken because there's full immunity. With the set target, it basically just allows you to do that. On top of that, when you kill an enemy with the set target, you can actually get 1 turn of cooldown to the unit that actually gets the kill. So, for example, if I think I actually did it just then. If Luffy and Luchi get the kill on a particular unit that has the set target, they're going to get 1 turn of cooldown, which allows you to just get your cooldowns back in these longer runs. But overall, as a captain, Luffy and Luchi, like, they have so many options of characters, which is great. Same with Zoro and Kaku. Like, the amount of characters you can put on their teams, the amount of characters that you can work alongside, that they can work alongside, it's really, really nice and gives them so much variation and variability when it comes to team building. And it's something that I really, really enjoy when it comes to these 2 character releases. I haven't had any issues with building teams or finding characters and being so segregated into like 1 class. Having just like that whole like, oh my god, I can only use 1 class thing, it's very frustrating and it's very finicky. Their switch also gives Jason Orbs tandem, which obviously works exceptionally well with tandem characters, but the big weird thing is they're not a tandem character themselves. I kind of wish that they were a tandem character and that Zoro and Kaku were the final tap. It does make a little bit of sense why that this character is the final tap and Zoro Kaku is the tandem character. Finally, they do have a final tap, weirdly enough, and it is probably the worst final tap in the entire game. Honestly, I actually really like Luffy and Luchi. Yeah, Luffy and Luchi. I nailed it, and I thought I fucked it up. I really like Luffy and Luchi, but I feel like this whole video I've just been talking down on them and saying, like, kind of like implementing that they're bad, because they're definitely not. I actually have been pleasantly surprised with like how much I actually like this character. That doesn't mean they're the best character in the game, but their final tap's us. Their final tap sucks dick. It's so bad. It's literally base stats and then moves with 3 turns of resilience. And obviously this does work with their whole barrier pen gimmick of bypassing resilience, but like, who gives a shit, man? Like, I don't need resilience removal when I have end of turn damage. I'm always gonna find a way to use end of turn damage. Even in this piece of content, there was resilience and we didn't use it. Like, it's not happening. Like, it's just no. So it's a bit of a shame, but at the same time, like, just allows people not to summon for dupes, right? But look, they have a level limit break 5 super special in PvP, so it's gonna make people summon, I guess. But it's gonna wrap up the video anyway. Let me know what you guys think of Luffy and Luchi in the comment section below. While you're down there, but like button, hit the subscribe button, do all that good stuff. Most importantly, wherever you guys are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. As always, homies, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Late! Something I forgot to mention is that EX also gives 10 mobs, which is really great.